Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 67 of The Best Games Period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and with me this week are Daniel Jones and Jeremy Brown. How you guys doing?
I mean, we're good. I think we cracked open a cold one, so all the boys showed up this week, finally. Something like that.
It's been a while.
It has.
It's been a couple weeks. Yeah, what have you guys been up to? We'll try and keep it quick, because peeling back the curtain a little bit here, we have some technical difficulties, and we need to make sure we keep it under a certain amount of time here. So,
I just been living Livin.
I never know what you're going to say when I ask you that question, which is why it's one of my favorite questions to ask at the beginning of the show.
I can't follow that up, so.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Just gonna leave.
You guys been playing anything?
I played like 3 hours of Uncharted yesterday. Uncharted 4. I am so close to the end.
Oh my gosh. You haven't beaten it yet?
No.
That was my instinctual response to your statement, and I really don't have any high ground because I haven't played any of it.
I mean,
you haven't even touched it.
So I will say, I love Uncharted, obviously. I love Naughty Dog. But going back to it after a while, like, I see flaws in the formula.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, the whole explore for 10, 20 minutes, do whatever you want, and then just massive amounts of random thugs coming at you and have to shoot them. That kind of gets old.
Yep.
Is that considered a gaming blasphemy, what you just said?
No.
Well, could be. But no, really, like, that's the parts I was like, oh man, this sucks. I just want to keep exploring.
What?
Do you want it to be more like an adventure game type thing, less of the shooty stuff and more of the kind of Indiana Jones temple stuff?
Yes, I think I just took too much time away and forgot how to shoot.
It's like riding a bicycle with a gun.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just like waves of enemies, like nonstop for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, God, really? Where are you guys coming from? Why did you not see me 20 seconds ago when I was literally in the same spot? That type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Daniel? Have you been playing anything?
Well, first of all, I just want to ask, without spoiling, where are you in Uncharted 4? What part did you last play?
16 chapter?
House?
Yeah, so I'm very close to the end.
Cool. You're getting there. You got some more stuff to do.
Yeah, I gotta shoot more waves of enemies, I know.
Yep. And the most annoying... You're coming up to the most annoying part in the whole game.
Really?
Towards the end. Yeah.
I don't know why, but...
Uncharted 4 never quite goes full blue guys, but it does have...
It never goes full Uncharted 3.
Uncharted... Well, yeah. But the blue guys were in Uncharted 2. But actually, the blue guys were in Uncharted 2, and the Uncharted 3 had the guys on the drugs and then the water, and they were...
the guys in Uncharted 2, snow yetis with Nazis?
It seems to me, and maybe this is just nostalgia or not knowing any better, but it seems to me in the previous games, like, it didn't last as long. Or maybe in this game, there's better narrative between the main characters, like, and maybe better exploration, that you just kind of want to do that. I'm like, this is really neat. I want to put this in my journal.
There is some really neat stuff, though. That's what I like about it, is that, like, I did end up really having a fondness for that game, and it was because I was fascinated. Once you got on the island, I was super fascinated with all of the island and the mystery and the story of what happened on the island. To me, it was, like, as interesting as the backstory to Rapture. Like, it was just a super interesting story. Yeah, I thought so.
I mean, I kind of agree so far. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be ecstatic and just fine with it. But I'm at the point where I've shot tons of bad guys now. I just want to carry on the narrative and see what happens.
I agree. I have been playing a lot of Metroid Prime lately.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Is it a good retro experience, or is it kind of one where you're like, this hasn't aged well?
Oh no, that game's aged super well. It
Really?
still looks like pudding on my on my TV.
What?
It looks like
I don't know if that's good.
it looks like a really mushy watercolor painting covered in pudding.
Oh,
Like delicious pudding?
so
or
No.
more like flan, really.
No, not delicious pudding.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it looks okay, but
It's no bread pudding.
I'd rather be playing it on either like an HD version or on a tube TV, but that's all right.
Okay, fair enough.
But it really is a great game. That's the only game where the GameCube controller doesn't completely annoy the hell out of me. So,
The only one?
yeah, pretty much.
Really?
Side note, so I tried to order 12 SNES Classics. Turns out they're only making 6.
Well, that's still 4 more than they made of the NES Classic.
Right?
It's true.
Oh my! Did you? I just read today. There's a story that they're only going to be selling them for 3 months.
Yeah.
Well,
They're not going to produce any more after the end of the year.
I think the wording on that was funny because they didn't say that they're not going to.
But I mean, they did.
If by funny you mean rage-inducing, then yes, it was hilarious.
No, go back and read it. They did not.
I can see the lost in translation thing, but considering what they did with the NES Classic, I'm not really sure it's lost in translation.
No, I know.
I think that's what they meant.
I would understand if people interpret it that way, but I really do think that it's possible that they just... Because all they said was, we have no plans as of this time to continue production into 2018. But that doesn't mean that those plans aren't going to change as the year goes.
I'm sorry.
This is
I'm
Nintendo.
sorry. If you have you're like a huge company, you definitely either have plans to roll out a product that you know is going to be massively popular, and you know if you're going to roll it out past the end of the year or not.
Yeah.
And they know that the NES Classic to this day is still hard for people to come by and a much coveted item. And they know that by putting an unreleased Super Nintendo game on this SNES Classic, Star Fox 2, in case you aren't up to speed, listeners, they know that that thing is going to sell like crazy. And it is absolutely insane to me that they are like, well, we're going to be shipping more units than the NES Classic, but we're also only going to be shipping them for 3 months, and we have no plans after that.
Like, what is that plan contingent upon? How well it sells? Well, it's only going to sell as well as people can buy it. So
yeah, it's literally going to sell out almost instantaneously.
Exactly.
Well,
and it's infuriating to me how much Nintendo seems to hate making money.
Kind of, yeah. Or even like appreciating their fan base. They can make probably 4 million units of those, and they would all sell. And they're probably going to make 250,000.
I really want one, and I'm really upset because I know I'm not going to get one.
Yeah. Right.
And also, I put this out on Twitter, but my bold prediction is that people really love the NES. Like that is a much beloved system, but the Super Nintendo takes like nostalgia to a whole new level. And I honestly think that due to how much this thing is going to be in demand and how much people are going to want it, I think someone is probably going to get like trampled to death or like stabbed over this thing.
That could be.
Like somebody's going to die trying to get an SNES Classic, and I blame that on Nintendo. Not making enough.
Okay, you can't blame that.
I mean,
Nintendo,
I can't blame it. I can't totally blame it, but they're slightly culpable for not making enough of these things.
Like, people 25
it's
to
a
35,
blood console.
People 25 to 35, the SNES is their jam, right? I mean, that's a big deal.
And that's like the core gaming demographic right there.
Yeah. Anyway.
What?
Anyway.
But listen,
I mean, Nintendo can do whatever they want. They can
Yes.
like make terrible decisions. It'll take them to Oblivion. I just whatever.
no, you're not transitioning yet because I had a point and you just interrupt me. You just interrupt. This is all he does. Jack. I'm done. I'm so sick of it. I get to a point and he just interrupts me. I can't.
Does that mean I can be done?
Oh man.
You know, Daniel, I seem to have been on this show about roughly the same amount of time as you. I've never noticed that at all.
Yeah.
Weird.
Oh.
He interrupts me.
Never noticed it.
You've never noticed him interrupting me.
That's because you take
Not
way
once.
too long to make a point.
Because the point is that
See?
What was the point?
Points in hand.
the point that I was trying to make,
If you
the
would
one
like,
I'm trying
if
to
you
make,
would like me to leave the show, Daniel, not to interrupt,
is that
I can.
No, but really, the point I'm trying to make is that before we move on to Oblivion, what I really want to see Nintendo doing is they can do this and that's fine. Do it, whatever. But I want some way to access those games that doesn't cost $80 for a cartridge or whatever some of those games cost now.
Yeah.
So put them on Virtual Console and I'll pay piecemeal for them.
Well, I saw somebody make that point. I'm sure several people made that point, but I saw a specific person say, like, why? Why not just put them on the Switch Virtual Console?
It almost feels like they're doing a Disney Vault kind of thing with this.
Yeah.
Where they take them out for a little while and you get 3 months to buy this thing and then we're going to take it away. But you can't buy them anywhere else. So, fuck you.
It's like
hey,
when
Metroid Prime 4 is coming. Wet your pants.
When your wife only gives you a blowjob every 5th birthday. Like, what the hell?
Right.
Just, come on now. Do it or not.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know how successful they can be with that kind of approach, because I do think you're right, that they're trying to do kind of like a vault-like thing, and have kind of their properties, their older properties, enshrined in nostalgia.
Right.
But they already are.
But in a way that people will pay for them every time they come out. You know?
Paying $80 for 21 games is not something that they're going to make bank off of.
Yeah.
Especially for the very few units that they're going to produce.
Yeah.
I guess I just don't see it like that. I think, I don't know. It's more
Again,
it's more of a
their strategy to me makes no sense. They're throwing away money they could be making. But
Yep.
That's their own business. Literally.
So frustrating.
it's more of an exclusivity type of thing than it is a money making thing.
Yeah. And to me, I look at it and I'm like, regardless of your moral stance on piracy, this kind of thing is going to push more people to pirate their games, and they're going to be not making money off of that stuff anyway.
Right.
I'm not advocating piracy. That's just kind of what happens with this kind of a tech savvy audience.
I also don't think that the alternative, something like Sega Forever, is a good idea either. I think that's a terrible solution to the problem. I appreciate that those games are free and cheap, but they're also on your phone.
There's a very easy solution. $3 on the Virtual Console.
Exactly.
Call it good.
Or even just add them to the subscription service that they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
You know?
But also have them for $3. It's the kind of thing where I think for these retro games, we're kind of running into a music industry clashing with Napster kind of thing, but with video games. I don't know how to articulate this because I didn't have this point planned out in my brain.
No, I know what you mean.
Because you need to go somewhere with this, because I'm confused.
Yeah. Well, because they're not making money off of these older games unless they're selling them, but they aren't making them available at all, so people are just going to the more convenient thing, which is piracy, a lot of the time to play these older games that haven't been released in modern memory.
What they need to do is something like Spotify
and iTunes.
And and Apple Music, that kind of thing, that makes it super convenient for people. Because people will pay for something if it's a reasonable price and it's convenient and it fits into their life better than what they've been using, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a legit service would be nice, but also, why not? $3,
right?
Virtual console, call it good.
And it's not like hosting those games on a digital store would be breaking the bank for Nintendo.
No.
And
they're just emulated anyway.
Yeah.
So
that got me hotter than I intended to get this episode.
I like when you get hot, Jack.
Nintendo is just super weird. That's the way it is.
As for my part, I've been playing a few games recently that I just wanted to mention briefly. The first one I wanted to shout out is called The Final Station. I don't know if you guys have heard of that or not. But it's this pixel art side-scrolling indie game set in kind of this sci-fi setting. And you are...
Oh, that's The Last Night. That's that Cyberpunk one.
No, not quite.
Huh.
I think this one has something to do with, like, aliens. I haven't finished it yet, but basically the plot is that you are a train conductor, and you have this experimental train, and you have been given an assignment by the army to transport these secretive packages to different depots along your line. And as you're doing that, it seems like there's kind of a War of the Worlds type situation going on,
cool.
where aliens are kind of invading in the background as you are traveling through the countryside on this train. And the train is an experimental train, and so it's not entirely up to snuff. Like, everything isn't working properly. So as you're traveling, you have to kind of make sure everything's balanced. You have to make sure everyone who's... all the passengers on the train are, like, fed or not bleeding out or something like that. And then at each stop you make, you have to scour for supplies. And while you're doing that, you have to fight off zombie creatures.
Well, sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty neat.
That does sound cool.
It's not, like, super deep, but it's really roped me in, and I recommend people check it out.
So you're saying that studio is on the right track?
Yeah, I don't want to toot their horn too much, but
okay.
They're doing a good job.
Well, I'd give them a good pat on the caboose.
And the other thing, I finally finished Pillars of Eternity, and that was pretty good.
Okay.
That's what I have to say about that. It was pretty good.
Okay.
That's good.
If that kind of RPG is your thing, it's pretty good.
I mean, I dig RPGs, so okay.
Yeah.
You know what else is an RPG that people dig?
What?
Final Fantasy VII?
The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
And also Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Oh, yeah. Oblivion.
That
is
game.
the game.
Patrick Stewart's greatest role. May he rest in peace.
Right?
Wait, he's not dead yet.
Shh, Jack.
2017 hasn't taken him yet.
May he rest in peace, Jack.
He could still make more commercials.
Have you not seen Logan? Come on. Stop it.
He's still smoking weed with his really young girlfriend.
I like that guy. Hey, did I tell you guys? On a side note. So there is now a place in town that sells cars, coffee, like lattes.
I thought you were just going to end with cars and let it trail off into silence.
Outdoor/camping gear, guns, and marijuana.
What?
No joke.
Montana has legal marijuana?
Medical? Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think you can sell both guns and medical marijuana in the same place. So he put this half-ass wall up in between the two. So they're, I guess, two separate businesses. But yeah, it opens tomorrow. Like people are literally lined up on the streets right now.
Wow. And that's a small town.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I didn't really expect you to. I just thought it was hilarious.
You know what else has a lot of weeds in it?
Oblivion has a lot of weeds in it.
Yeah, it does. But only within a certain range.
This is
It
true.
also has a lot of tripping.
Yeah, fast tripping,
Yep.
as it was called.
Tripping
It is.
around
Yes.
Cyrodiil.
Gosh, our transitions are just the best.
Yeah, they are. So, Oblivion came out when, Jack?
2006.
This is
Original.
Cyrodiil. Is that where it takes place?
Yes.
You got that right,
Ah,
sir.
yes.
In the world of Tamriel. But yes.
Yes.
In
Yes.
the area, country, whatever, of Cyrodiil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
Province?
released on initially PC and what, Xbox
360. Yeah.
Yep. Why we need to stop phrasing all of these things as questions because we're getting them all right.
Well, I
Released in
mean,
2006 for the 360 and PC. Eventually came to PlayStation 3,
yeah,
which Skyrim took several years. It only took 1 year to show up on the PlayStation 3.
I don't.
Well, Skyrim
it
came
took
out day and
several
date.
years. Yeah,
Did it?
It just took
What-
several years to be playable.
yeah, yeah. It came out day and date. It just sucked for the first 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a open world giant RPG, super notable for kind of its customization and just being totally open, like really kind of putting open world games on the map as far as I can tell.
Well, open world RPGs, anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even
it-
open world games. This is the game that was like, hey, this is what it means to be a next gen open world game.
I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
it
next
was
gen.
different.
Next gen,
Because
yes.
Grand Theft Auto had kind of
Right.
done that already.
It had,
You 100% right.
Yeah.
but this did it on a
But-
whole new scale.
Yeah. I remember reading the Game Informer cover story.
Me too,
of-
Jack. I was going to mention that.
Okay.
Like we
was
can read your
talking about
mind,
this
Daniel.
game.
See, Daniel gets pissy because we say
No, I'm
things
not.
he's
I'm not
gonna
pissed.
say.
I'm excited. I'm excited because I agree with him.
But it was basically an account of the, I don't remember who wrote it, but whoever wrote it, sorry to my friends at Game Informer, it was their account of like the first 4 hours of their time in the game.
Yep.
And it was just super interesting because at the time I hadn't played Morrowind. And I wasn't a huge PC gamer, and I didn't have an Xbox, and a lot of the games that kind of fell into this category or similar just weren't available to me. And so I remember reading this cover story and just thinking to myself, holy crap, you can do anything. Like, walking down the road and just getting into random adventures or being roped into like a rescue operation or like finding a key to an ancient like burial site and being able to go and adventure for treasure and like all these different things.
Yep.
And I was just kind of dazzled. Like I remember just being like, well, this is something that I have to experience because
Or,
this is a game changer.
or you could do none of those. There were like thousands of things. Like the world was literally your oyster at that point.
Yeah.
You just
Yep.
opened
Yeah.
it up and went wherever.
Yep.
Su-
And like this game to kind of put it into perspective, I believe takes place over an area that's roughly 16 square miles of in-game space.
Which
I mean-
might not sound like a lot nowadays.
It's actually 16.2, Jack, but whatever.
16.2. Okay.
I have no idea. It's a big space.
Okay. But it was like the largest thing to run around in. Like I remember one day just being like, I wonder how big this world is to actually just run across, because you always had the option in Oblivion to fast travel. And so without fast traveling, I spent hours just running in a straight line, fighting monsters, and trying to figure out how long it would take me to get from one end of the map to the other.
Wait, what? You had that option
Yeah.
in Oblivion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah. So it was just so different from anything else I had experienced. And then the whole opening, in terms of how openings go, just felt really cool. And now it seems like a big cliche. You know, you're trapped in a dungeon, and then something happens, and someone's like, "Oh, come with me. We need to escape." And you go with them, and you have kind of this escape operation. And it seems to be, that was even probably cliche at the time, but I remember it being very exciting.
See, I have the opposite reaction to the opening. I think we've had this discussion before.
Have we?
Yeah, we have. But because I remember you saying that you really liked the opening to Oblivion, and I just didn't. I was super excited for this game too, Jack, because going into it, this was like the first next-gen game I had seen, at that point. And it looked amazing in the screenshots that were in that Game Informer article. It looked stunning. And some of them were probably all really well polished, but I think they were ultimately pretty representative of the final product. And it just looked incredible. But then you start and you're in this dank, dark dungeon, and that's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be out in the open. I didn't want to have to go through this dungeon to get there. And it also just kind of reminded me a lot of the opening of Morrowind, which I had played on the Xbox.
Well, you weren't there very long, right?
No, you weren't. But I just remember thinking, okay, well, I just need to get through this crap.
So, despite all your rage, you still felt like you were just a rat in a cage?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so I think I can break down why I liked it.
Break it down.
It started me in a situation I wasn't expecting, and then there was Patrick Stewart as a king, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's Patrick Stewart. I know this person, and I love Patrick Stewart. Fanboy all over that. And then...
Ugh, got some fanboy on me.
And then it was just a tutorial segment.
Right.
And I was totally fine trying to figure out how all the things worked. And then you get to the end of the tutorial, which is kind of the end of this sewer segment, and you get to finalize all your character creation, you know where you want to go, and then you step out into the world, and that's the first time you see everything. It's just sprawled out in front of you, it's bright, it's shining.
Yeah.
That moment makes the entire intro worth it.
That was great, but
yeah. No, that was the best.
but it's great. Partly because you had to spend all that time in kind of a less interesting location. Yeah. You
should play Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a game that does that kind of thing really well.
Okay, that game came out 19 years later.
Just saying. I'm just saying, it has a really interesting story setup, and it's about an hour and a half, and then all of a sudden you're brought into the wider world, and it's holy cannoli. But everything in that hour and a half didn't feel like a tutorial. It felt like a really interesting story bit that was fun. And I guess that was the other thing, was that I was never, in my entire time playing Oblivion, was never really interested in the story at all.
Well,
wait, there's a story.
And I understand, that's not what Oblivion's about. That's not what Elder Scrolls is really about.
I mean, so my point of comparison, and I think a lot of people compare Oblivion and Skyrim, and I mean, not to be too, well, I mean, I'm gonna do it. I don't know why I'm trying to soften this blow, but I actually bothered to finish the main storyline in Oblivion. I've never seen the end of Skyrim.
Okay, well,
I've never finished that main quest.
I think there's reasons for that, though.
I do too.
Let me start at the beginning. Well,
that's a good place to start.
When I was a wee lad, first born in 1978. No. So, Oblivion was my first experience, not only with RPGs, but open world, Bethesda, Elder Scrolls, all that stuff. And that beginning to me was actually pretty great. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. I'm just trapped in this corridor. I can handle this. You bust out of that sewer and like, okay, so now what? And then you could go anywhere and you could collect all the things. Now, to this day, this is why I think I have a fascination with going everywhere and collecting all the things. Because I did. It was like, I don't even care about the main quest. But the main quest in Oblivion is way less convoluted and way easier to complete than in Skyrim, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like,
it definitely is.
It just is. And, like, I probably played for like 2 hours before I realized I could click on like L2 because I played on PS3 and switch from first person to third person. And once I switched to third person, like it was a complete game changer. I'm like, oh my god, this is the game of my dreams. And I just did it all.
Wait, you played it all in third person?
I did.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Not all, but like after the first couple hours, yeah.
You
I
prefer
don't know
playing
whether
it
to be
in
impressed
third?
or horrified.
Yeah.
You prefer playing it in third person?
Yeah.
Wow.
What? What's wrong with
Same
that?
with Skyrim?
Yes.
Wow.
What?
Same with
You might be the
same
only
with,
person.
Same with any given game that has that option.
Yeah, but that's not just like any game that has that option. That's just... Wow.
Well, what's wrong with that?
You guys think I'm weird for being inverted. Jeremy's over there playing Scrolls in third person.
I'd like to be able to see what's behind me. What can I say?
Okay.
No, it's fine.
I mean, I'm
Really?
Yeah.
I don't
You
think
do
I'm
you.
alone. Okay, put this in the poll, Daniel.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do two separate
I'll do a
polls.
separate poll.
I don't think I'm alone here.
I think you're very much in the minority, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm cool with that.
I just wish I could have been there for the moment you discovered that you could go into third person.
Oh, it was great. I was like, hell yeah. Because then I could see my character that I spent,
Oh, yeah.
35 minutes building that didn't look anything like it. But that's okay.
To be 100% honest with you and to just briefly talk about a different game, that is one of the reasons I really like Fallout 4. Because you can actually see the character that you spent time creating in conversations. As opposed to all the other games that Bethesda has made where you spend all that time in the character creator and it really doesn't matter what your character looks like at all.
Exactly. And you got to remember, I wasn't good at games back then. I mean, I'm still not.
Yeah.
But, like, it just gave me a perspective that I felt I had a little more control over, and it was less dizzying. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was awesome. And just like, I don't even know where I went. I went left, I went right, I went straight, I went right, I went left, I went right, and eventually ended up at this half-assed broken down castle, and like they weren't going to let me in, but then they did. And like somebody did something or another, and I'm like, I just need more plants so I can make things.
You just perfectly described the Oblivion experience.
Yeah, pretty
Right
much.
there.
And then
Going left,
eventually,
going right, going straight.
I found all these, I guess, temples, whatever, like demon things, and I understood the concept of the game at that point. And I realized I had to get through all these Oblivion gates, so I started doing that. But by that point, I was such a high level, like it was so easy because I had not even cared. I just played the game, so I leveled up, and I will say, I do shed a tear for the lack of children in that game.
Really? I know that was a really controversial subject at the time.
No, I don't really, but it is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it is weird that in a world where you have so much attention to detail, where you're like, spoons are an individual item, that you don't have children.
But this game, like, had actual towns. It had shops. You could go in. You could steal from the shopkeepers. Like, I didn't even know that was even a thing that existed. Like,
Could you
Oh,
put
yeah, I mean-
buckets
There were
over their
repercussions.
heads and steal from them?
Oh God, no! I was too terrified to
Oblivion?
ever even try to steal from anybody. But
Well,
you
you could
could.
do that in Skyrim, so I just was
Yeah.
curious.
I stole from literally everyone I
Oh
could
no, I did it all
in
legit. Like,
Oblivion. That's how I made all my money in Oblivion. I would just go into the castle and steal all their silver stuff, and then go sell it.
yeah, no, I get it.
See,
Like I think Oblivion is like that line between Morrowind and Skyrim. It's almost that perfect existence because Skyrim is great. I love Skyrim, and Morrowind is pretty cool. But Oblivion was like in that weird era, that weird technological era to begin with, that they could really advance it. But it wasn't quite Skyrim because Skyrim has lots of issues. Oblivion was just straight up wander and do whatever.
So I don't quite remember how we came down on Skyrim. Did we come down as a yes on Skyrim or a no?
Did we do Skyrim?
I don't remember doing Skyrim.
Yeah, we had a Skyrim episode.
No, I'm pretty sure I came down on yes.
Yeah, I think it did.
Well,
I can't remember
was,
that we did one, but I'm sure we did.
I mean, that was before the other 19 versions of Skyrim came about.
Yes.
Listen, I'm not suggesting I'm going to come down yes on this. I'm just saying it was a fantastic game to get into as an early gamer.
Right. And I get it. Like, this just had so much wealth, so many wealth. Wow, I can't word right. It had such a wealth of possibility. Like, you could go archer and you'd basically have a deadly gun that you'd be carrying around with you all the time, and you'd be sneaking to get that perfect shot. Or you'd go mage and you could be hurling fireballs and like dual wielding magic spells, and not dual wielding, but like,
Yeah, that wasn't a...
you know, you guys know what I mean.
I hear you.
Shooting out like a cone of ice. Or you could go like just straight warrior and punch things to death or slice things to death or whatever.
Yeah.
You could do all these different things, and there were paths for you to take, different guilds you could join, which would have their own involved quest lines, and like none of this stuff was new at the time. Like a lot of that stuff had been done before in previous Elder Scrolls games or other open world games, but Oblivion definitely did it well at the time. Have either of you gone back to play Oblivion recently?
No.
No,
Skyrim, yes.
I can't say I have.
Okay. So I
mean, comparatively, it looks really ugly next to Skyrim. It honestly does.
Well, so I went back and I played some of Oblivion, and it doesn't look as bad as you might think it would. Like, the main thing that you notice when you're playing Oblivion is that the draw distance for like when things kind of pop into existence, and when I'm talking about things, I'm talking about like the minor details, like grass, is pretty short. Like, if you look over, like, you know, maybe a couple dozen feet to one side, the grass will turn into just like a green texture along the ground. And that is mostly what makes this game not look as great.
But I'm actually cool with that. That doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, it's jarring to go from Skyrim and going back to that, but after you adjust a little bit, that's fine. A lot of what just makes it a little bit... I guess Oblivion is more of a frame... you can look at it this way. Oblivion is kind of like a framework that Skyrim built on and perfected.
Yeah,
and there are just a lot of little things in Skyrim that if you go back to Oblivion, you kind of miss. Like the ability to dual wield. Or...
yeah, but...
just the way it streamlined a lot of other things.
to a degree, dual wielding in Skyrim is almost more annoying then worth it. Or at least to be able to switch up powers and weapons, right?
Yeah.
Are you with me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No.
I guess.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, playing it on PC or even on console, like it just took a lot of kind of like Dragon Age in a way. Like it took a lot of work to be able to switch back and forth.
I agree.
Oblivion it was nice in a way to not have to even have that hindrance. You could just do it.
I mean, you still had to switch between different weapons or items in Oblivion too.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being nearly as cumbersome.
Wait a second. I was agreeing because I thought you were defending Skyrim, saying it wasn't as cumbersome. But now you're saying Oblivion was not as cumbersome as Skyrim?
I think all Bethesda games are cumbersome.
I feel like Skyrim was pretty not cumbersome in comparison to Oblivion. I think you're kind of crazy.
I am, but I'm not sure for the reasons you think so.
Okay. Moving beyond that, though, what really sets Oblivion apart from?
Well, I was thinking about it.
Why? Yeah. Why is it a best game period, or not?
I'm not going to explain to you that because I'm not convinced it is. But it's hard not to compare it to Skyrim. They both came out in the same console generation. They both follow the kind of groundwork that Morrowind had set, and they both follow a pretty similar formula. It's a very wide open world, and there's a lot of random stuff that you can do, and a lot of the stuff that you can do is similar. You can join guilds, and you can you can get married, you can do random jobs, you can just wander, you can follow the story path 100%, but and even like the structure of the world and the main quest is sort of similar in that, like, I think in Oblivion you're constantly coming across Oblivion gates, which we haven't talked about really at all. And they factor in really they factor in
directly
a lot
into the main story.
But you also can come across them just wandering the world, which is similar to the way that Skyrim has the dragons. So they add this like added kind of distraction that overlaps between the main quest and side quests and everything else. They're just kind of a constant thing that's always there, that always gives you something to fall back on. If you want some more direction, you can say, I'm going to go hunt this dragon, or I'm going to go close this Oblivion gate. So they're super similar in that way. So it's hard to talk about one without talking about the other, but really you're kind of doing Oblivion a disservice if you don't give it credit for really kind of establishing kind of like shoring up that formula. After Morrowind I think Morrowind was a lot more just freeform, and people that really like Morrowind like it for that reason. There wasn't much of a strict formula. It was just kind of go do. And Oblivion gave you a little bit more of a direction and more had more distractions and more actual things for you to do that it wanted you to do.
Just relating real briefly, the Oblivion gates, I would argue, are actually the superior form of like trying to get the player to go do the main quest.
Yeah.
Because in Skyrim, the dragons often feel like they're just part of the world, even though the story kind of tells you they're not. They're not supposed to be flying around doing their dragon stuff. in Oblivion, it's very clear just visually from the Oblivion gates that they are not from around these parts. Like, they're not supposed to be there. They're just like these gates of fire that have erupted out of the ground and are spilling out like demon monsters.
Your job is to
like,
close them to help save Cyrodiil.
Yeah, and like it's almost immediately, without even anyone having to explain it, apparent that you probably should close those. You should do something about those. And like they're also fixed to the environment, unlike dragons, which are just kind of like flying around randomly most
and plus, like Skyrim, it's not just the dragons. You also need the dragon shouts to be able to even compete with some of the dragons. And Daniel is like, yes, they did come out in the same console generation, but one came out extremely early and one came out extremely late at a time when technology advanced so much. I think there's, something to be said there as far as that being different.
Yeah.
Skyrim is a great game. I love Skyrim. I absolutely love Skyrim. But Oblivion did its thing, and it did it really well, probably with more limited resources than what Skyrim had at hand at the time.
Oh, definitely with more limited resources. They started developing this thing in
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just a couple years after The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time.
I mean, long before the Xbox 360 came out.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, and I was looking into this a little bit, just because there's kind of a star-studded voice cast for Oblivion.
Well, a lot of Bethesda games have kind of a star-studded cast these days.
Yeah, but that kind of started with Oblivion.
I suppose.
Like they got Patrick Stewart and Sean Bean, and they got a bunch of these big actors. But the main problem came about because they got these big actors. They didn't get a ton of voice actors to fill out the rest of the world. And so one of the complaints a lot of people have is that a lot of the voices get reused for other characters.
Yeah.
And you start, after you play it for an extended period of time, you start hearing that all these characters kind of start to sound the same.
Yeah, a lot of the NPCs are like the same people.
And I guess that was a point of friction.
That was also a thing in Fallout 3, if you recall.
Yeah. Yes. But it turned out that behind the scenes, that was a big point of friction between the lead designer on Oblivion, Ken Rolston, and like the producers, because they wanted him to have a fully voiced world where all the characters talked. Unlike Morrowind, where only some of the characters talked and the rest was just in text. And so he gave an interview and basically just said, let me see if I can find the quote here. He said, I prefer Morrowind's partially recorded dialogue for many reasons, but I'm told fully voiced dialogue is what the kids want.
So side note, what do you guys like? Would you prefer? I don't mind reading text in games. I actually don't mind it at all.
It depends on the game.
Obviously.
Like if I'm playing like like a game like Pillars of Eternity, I don't mind if all the dialogue isn't voiced, because that's the kind of game that has a lot of like dialogue trees and choices that you make, and it would be an absolute nightmare to actually have all that text read out loud.
Well, it would be like Mass Effect.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. And I'm sure like a significant portion of that budget went to voice actors. And so for smaller RPGs that want to have a lot of choice and they're kind of removed from like trying to present a more cinematic thing, I don't mind if it's not voiced. But if you're going to go for like a big AAA thing, it seems weird now to try and get away with like a Legend of Zelda type situation where no one talks and there's just text.
But I think you can do like some sort of happy medium. Like, I think you can have both. Like where the main characters or the main scenarios are voiced, but it doesn't have to be the entire time.
Well,
And you
so
actually
let
see
me put it
that.
this
You
way.
actually see that in Breath of the Wild, honestly.
Well, yeah, but let me put it this way: would people accept it if the Elder Scrolls 7, for example, went back to only partial voice acting?
Probably not.
Or would people be kind of upset? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think they kind of boxed themselves into a corner with their series there.
But I think it just depends on the level of funding and just the scale of the project. Like if it's something like Pillars of Eternity or something, like that's certainly a smaller team, and it's understandable if they don't want to make everything voiced. Even something like, I mean, Breath of the Wild is not a small scale project at all, but it didn't really bother me. I mean, I haven't played it, but I played the first 3 hours, but it doesn't seem. So I played the first 3 hours, and what I played, like, it doesn't really seem weird to have certain characters talking during like cutscenes and stuff, but during gameplay they're not really talking at all. There's no voice.
What would be way
it
cool?
kind of works.
What?
What'd you say, Jeremy?
Do you know what would be way cool? So,
What?
like, consider Elder Scrolls 7, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's going to have tons of NPC characters. It's going to have tons of NPC characters that only show up for a minute, right? Like, if they just had fans submit voice work for that stuff, it doesn't have to be good, just different. So you're not hearing the same voices over and over and over. That would be amazing, and people would buy into that so much. Like, if you could just get on your iPhone and record, like, I don't know, I guess if we're talking Fallout 5 or Elder Scrolls 7, like, hey, Wander, what are you doing in these parts? Just stupid shit like that. Like, that, you would feel so much more invested. They could use so many people, and they would solve that problem instantly. Obviously, for the main characters, you have to have some talent.
Yeah.
But
for like,
I mean, I can grunt, you can grunt, Daniel can grunt. We can all do that if we have to. Could you imagine how cool that would be, though, if they gave us the opportunity?
That would be really cool.
I remember, Dragon Age actually did that a few years back. I'm not
they
sure.
They did it also for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah, I'm not really sure whatever came of it, but it was a neat idea.
I think the person who won their voice acting contest got to voice a character in the Dragon Age Inquisition Descent DLC.
See, I'm not even talking the contest. Just like, look, we have so many characters. They all need some voice. Like, most of them are going to die or you'll never see them again. Just, give us your best shot.
Yeah, and they could put out like a script and just be like, hey, this is generally like the rules in which you need to talk, but otherwise...
It doesn't have to be spoilery. It could be anything.
Yeah. Here are the responses we need. Here are the things you need to say, but you can kind of improvise. Yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be cool.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, me too. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So, I guess we're kind of getting to the point where, what do we think of Oblivion?
Time to wrap
Is
this
this
thing
the best
up.
game period? Like, I know I'm very torn on this game because I poured hundreds of hours into it when it came out. It basically absorbed my life for several months.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it has stood up as well, like, after the fact. Like, going back to it is very difficult.
So, who wants to?
But I was still having fun. So, I'm torn. You guys need to sway me.
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
For all the reasons you just said. Like, It's a huge investment. Like, it's not a game you can just pick up and play and like, you can just pick up and play it and have fun with. But to finish it, it's a huge investment. And I think there are many other games similar to this that do probably a better job. I would say Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4. It's a great game, don't get me wrong. Like, if you play those games and love them, then yes, play this game. But I don't think it's a game you absolutely have to play to be able to call yourself a good gamer. I love the game, but no, I do not think it's the best games, period. Shocker.
You do bring up a good point in that even if people really love this type of game, there are so many games that are coming out now that are both definitely already worth your time, and B, like, this game, if you wanted to do everything in it, would probably take you like 200 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's 200 hours you could spend on Horizon Zero Dawn or any number of these kind of
like
RPG
25
open
times.
worlds. Well, I mean, like Horizon Zero Dawn, Skyrim, we have a bunch of these open worlds and that are constantly being expanded. And I mean, part of the reason I wanted to do the Oblivion episode today is that I believe... Well, so this episode's going to come out on July 3rd. So happy 4th of July.
Then we should have done
everybody.
Fallout 3.
But the reason I wanted to do Oblivion today is because there is a mod coming out for Skyrim called Return to Bruma, and it's part of this modding effort to kind of put all of Tamriel into Skyrim. And they're starting, the first area that's coming out is actually Cyrodiil. And this Return to Bruma mod, I think, puts half of Cyrodiil into Skyrim.
No, I mean, like, that's way cool. I love Bethesda games, like, seriously.
Yeah.
But my favorite Bethesda game that actually wasn't even developed by them is Fallout New Vegas. I mean, hands down.
Oh, you're one of those?
I am one of those.
Oh, Jeremy, you're breaking my heart this episode.
Right? Like, if you want to play Oblivion, by all means, God, please do. This game is near and dear to my heart and always will be, but I don't think you have to play it.
Yeah.
We need to do an episode on Fallout New Vegas. I know that was much requested when we did a Fallout 3 episode.
I've not played it, but you guys have at it.
But
if you care about my opinion, I will say no, Oblivion's not.
Of course we care about
Nobody's asked me. Nobody's asked me.
I mean, give us a chance to get there.
I'm leaving.
Nobody asked you because nobody cares. Okay, so two no's, Jack, you're on the fence here. Like what?
Well, I want to hear why Daniel says no.
Yeah, really. So do I.
Oh, that's right. He drove away.
Did he actually leave?
I think that was he was pretending to do footsteps, and then he did like the tire squeal.
I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I just had to cool off for a minute.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
Was it cool outside?
No.
Did you go through the whole big night cycle?
What?
So why no? Why is Oblivion not Skyrim?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm pretty sure that I did say yes on Skyrim, so I think the reason is because I think we factor in how well games have aged, and we also factor in, their kind of legacy. And if I'm looking at the games in that series, like, I think that Morrowind has a more powerful legacy than any of them.
I would agree.
It kind of set the standard. And also, I mean, Morrowind came out at the beginning of the Xbox. The first Xbox. It was a launch game. And or like really early launch window. That was way before open world games were really a thing on consoles. I think it came out right around the same time Grand Theft Auto 3 came out. So that's super impressive. And then if I'm thinking about like games in that series that have really aged well, I think about Skyrim. Like, I know Skyrim has problems. I know it's not perfect. But of all of them, if I'm going to go back and play an Elder Scrolls game, that's the one that I would want to go back and play.
Well,
So,
I mean, there's a reason to keep updating and re-releasing that game. It is kind of the pinnacle of
right.
Elder Scrolls series at this point.
And so Oblivion, as great as it was and as fondly as I look at that game, I just have to say no.
I feel like we should just take a moment to remind our maybe new listeners that because we say no doesn't mean we hate the game.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different parameters for every game. Like, this is not like a 6-hour game you can just play. It takes, like Jack said, 200 hours to finish to do it right. So it's not a game that, and I think you agree with this, Daniel, that like you have to absolutely play to be able to appreciate any games, let alone the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah, I mean, so part of this is difficult because, like, just looking at, like, I have many fond memories of this game, and looking at the critical reception of this game at the time, like, no one had anything terrible to say about Oblivion. Like, most of the reviews are very positive. It's sitting at a 94 on Metacritic.
Yeah.
And there are 75 negative reviews of it on Metacritic from users, but then there are, on the other hand, there are like 338 positive reviews.
Yeah, I would never give this game a negative review. But, that's not the point of the show.
Right. And this was also voted like the best PC game of 2006, the best RPG. This game is showered in accolades. Mm-hmm. And I guess I love it. I have problems with it. And I guess in retrospect, the thing that kind of sours it for me is that A, it's really hard to go back to, and B, maybe this is unfair, but I kind of blame Oblivion for giving us crappy microtransactions in major games.
Oh, horse armor? Yeah.
Horse armor?
Yeah, horse armor. We went an entire episode, we almost didn't mention that Bethesda was the first company that really tried to pull kind of a fast one over on people when it came to downloadable content in games.
Well, they were still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
they knew what they were doing. You don't try and charge like $10 for some cosmetic horse armor in a game and not know it.
Well, they were trying to figure out. They were trying to push the limits and see how far they could go with it, and
they really pushed the limits because
they done fucked
over
up
10 years later, we're still making fun of them for horse armor.
But is it really all that different from, like, buying some shit for your character in Dota?
It's not, but it was the first, so it made sense. I mean, it didn't make sense, but it made sense to ridicule it.
I mean, cosmetics shit.
So, like, think about, like, Mass Effect 3. Like, how many, I don't know how much you guys played the multiplayer in that game. How many, whatever they're called, packs did you buy trying to get the Black Widow?
None.
Well, I bought lots.
But I blame Bethesda. I hold them responsible for all of the sins that microtransactions have brought to the gaming community. And Oblivion is solely responsible for that. So I'm going to go with no.
It's not solely responsible for it. That was in the works long before. They just happened to be the first to do it.
I'm just blaming it so that I have an easy out for my answer. Because otherwise, my answer is just a really weak sauce no.
I mean, like, none of us are like hard nosed. We're all just
No.
like, there are better Bethesda or RPG or open world experiences out there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever have a spare 200 hours and you want to get into this game and you've never played it before, by all means, go for it.
See,
But
that's the thing. You don't have to have played Oblivion to enjoy Skyrim. You don't have to have played Morrowind to enjoy Oblivion. You don't have to have played Oblivion to enjoy Morrowind. Uh, Maybe that's a greatness of Bethesda. Maybe it's a fault. I don't know. But you just don't have to. It's not like, Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, where kind of they all feed off each other. It's not like other games that have numbers that I can't think of right now. But
yeah,
you know what I mean,
get what
right?
you're saying.
Like, you can jump into Skyrim, and it's the same experience, regardless if you've played Oblivion.
I do think that Skyrim used the foundations of Oblivion to make itself so great, or the developers used Oblivion to help kind of test a lot of the ideas that
Without
would
a doubt.
make Skyrim great.
But as a player,
But-
you don't need that.
Well, as a player, you don't need that, but also there's a reason that Skyrim has been the game that Bethesda has been re-releasing for the last 5 to 6 years, and they haven't been doing that for Oblivion.
I mean, we make fun of Skyrim. Everybody makes fun of Skyrim every time they talk about the new re-release. But Skyrim is a masterpiece. Like,
It's pretty
it
good.
did a lot of things very well. And yes, there is a reason they keep re-releasing it.
I really hope we don't go back to the tapes on this one and find out that we all voted no on Skyrim. Just to be,
I don't think
just
we
to be
did.
negative Nancy's.
To be fair, I would love to see Bethesda do a Skyrim-style remake to Oblivion.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
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 It would totally
There are
be
a lot of
awesome.
things I'd love to see Bethesda do.
Yeah.
I mean, besides a new Skyrim, I agree.
You know what I'd love
Right.
to see?
We need at least 2 more versions of Skyrim. What would you love to see, Daniel?
Us wrap up the show.
Okay.
Oh, but you're the one in charge of that, so just do it.
All right. Well, Jack,
That's me.
Jeremy,
Present.
thank you for joining me tonight for...
I didn't have a choice.
No, you didn't. Episode 67 of the Best Games Period. We are back on track after E3 and an honorable mention and some other stuff that we had going on, and Jack kicking some butt with all those podcasts every night of E3. If you haven't gone and listened to those yet, they're pretty fun. It's fun to hear Jack just shooting the shit with people. It was cool. I was jealous. I wish I had been there.
Aw, yeah. I invited you.
I know. Next year. Next year I will have 3 weeks of vacation. I have no excuse.
Where was my invitation?
Oh, yeah. You never sent a writing sample.
Mm. Hey, I actually was published in the paper just today, so
Oh, really?
was that
What'd you write
today?
about?
Food safety, same thing I always write about.
Wait, do you consistently write about it?
That's what they want.
The newspaper asked you to write about food safety?
Yeah,
What do you write exactly?
3 times a year. Pretty much the same thing. I just change it for the season.
How have I known you for years and never known that you wrote for your local paper
Yeah.
about food safety?
I don't know. I do a pretty good job though.
How many words?
I bet.
God, they only give me 400 words. That sucks.
Yeah,
That's
that
hard.
sounds
That's
about right. That sounds
That's only a couple tweets.
Like,
sounds
this
like
time,
exactly what I was
I
thinking.
went literally to the 400th word. I've learned over the years.
Ah, yeah.
So I can write, Jack. Thank you.
Well, I'm just saying you didn't submit a writing sample.
You should
to
read
me.
some of my old
This is
blogs.
the first I've heard of it.
I do good at writing good. Especially since I only learned how to read that one book. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Which book was that?
I think it was War and Peace.
Warren Buffett's piece.
Yeah. Actually.
So, anyway.
Can you please wrap up this episode? My jokes are getting progressively worse.
Jack, can you tell us about Extra Life real quick?
Yeah, it's an awesome charity where you get to play games and help kids at the same time. It's part of Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Basically, you sign up and you play games and you raise money for sick and injured kids in hospitals. And when you sign up, you can actually choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital you want to play for, and 100% of all the money you raise goes directly to that hospital. So you know where it's going, you have a great excuse to play games, and you're helping kids. It's so much winning going on, your head is going to spin. So head over to extra-life.org where you can find out more and or sign up. Sign up. Just do it.
Do it. And
do it.
You can go to community.extra-life.org and you can find this very podcast as well as some other awesome content that Jack and his cohorts work on over there. You can also find this podcast on Game Informer every Monday when we post it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Libsyn, our hosting site. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook. On Twitter, we are at Best Games Period. What?
And iTunes.
And iTunes. Did I not say iTunes?
I think you missed
iTunes. Oh, my gosh. Of course we're on iTunes.
iTunes covered at this point. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Give us a
review on there.
Give us a review on iTunes. That would help us out a lot. It doesn't have to be a 5-star review. Just give us a review. I have an idea.
Leave a review on iTunes. I will personally send you a fidget spinner.
Oh, boy. That's exciting. Take his word on that.
Yeah, I don't say I'll send people stuff if I'm not going to.
It's true. Jeremy's a man of his word.
You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/bestgamesperiod, where if you throw us $1 a month, just throw it at us. We're all far away, but somebody's bound to catch it. You will get some extra content, and that's pretty awesome. It's only $1, so maybe consider it.
I mean,
right.
Also, if you want to donate $1,000 a month, I will let you spin my fidget.
I don't know what that means.
I'll probably also let you spin my fidget. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either, but for $1,000, I'll find a fidget.
I will twiddle my thumbs at you.
I'm pretty sure I tried that once and I got hurt, so maybe don't fidget my spinner.
I mean, $1,000, I'll take that chance.
Anyway, thank you for listening to this ridiculous episode. Let us all know. Oh, by the way, I ran a poll on Facebook and Twitter on whether or not people play the Elder Scrolls games in first person or third person. You guys want to hear the results?
Wait.
Okay.
Already?
Wait, you already have results? That's live?
25-4 first person.
Oh, well, those 25 people need to get good.
Some people, and through 8 votes on Twitter, 100% first person.
I mean,
some people did respond and say that they like to play both. They play in first person for combat and third person for exploration, which I think is a really weird way to play that game, but I get it. So, that's it.
Whatever.
Interesting.
Till next time, everybody. We'll see you all on the flippity dippity. Play your games in first person.
We'll see you on the other sides of the Oblivion gates.
And don't play it inverted.
The Oblivion gates were pretty great. We didn't talk about them enough.
Who doesn't, really? 25-4? Seriously?
Yeah.
It's 27.
Oh, my God.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, actually, sorry, 30.
That's why I hate Facebook.